it's a big deal to split up the New Day. For the better part of 6 years, these guys have entertained us, made us laugh, made us furious, and everything in between. They've made us feel a lot. Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, Big E have been part of the fabric. And to be honest, they go down in history as one of the all-time great tag teams. They have helped revolutionize and further the incredible and historic nature of African American and black wrestling, the history that is going to go down. What's really cool is in 50 years' time, when they're doing stupid wrestling vignettes in the future about, you know, black history and stuff like that, they'll be able to look back at these guys and how they paved a new way. And the way they did it was by completely revolutionizing what was initially a horrible and slightly racist gimmick. And they turned it into absolute gold with perseverance and honesty through their own characters. It's kind of sad that they've broken up, but obviously it doesn't have to be the end forever. There's always the opportunity for them to, you know, come back to each other at some point. Xavier Woods and Kofi obviously continue to be a pairing. They won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships on SmackDown from Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, and then were immediately drafted in a very telling moment, which meant that obviously Big E will now go solo. We know about that. You've obviously discussed how you're excited about that. Do you think that it was too soon, or do you think this is the right time to break up the New Day?
I mean, yeah, like you said, they've been together since, 2014. That's 6 years. They've got, I mean, if you include the recent literal title swap, by the way, the Street Profits and the New Day literally just traded championships.
God damn it, stop fucking ruining all the content.
But, like, they're like total 10-time tag team champions. They've had incredible success. They've been hugely over babyfaces since 2016. I bet you their merch sales are through the fucking roof. So, I mean, it doesn't suck, yes, because I thought Big E, like, they each member definitely had a lot of charisma, but I thought they bounced off each other very well. I don't think Big E is going to have an issue at all here. I think he'll be able to carry himself just fine. And Xavier Woods, whom we haven't seen in a year or so. Remember, he had an Achilles tendon injury, which is devastating and potentially career-threatening. But he's back. Him and Kofi are the champions on Raw. I think they're going to have a plethora of good matches, assuming there's a tag division in WWE at all.
Yeah, I mean, Carl Wilkinson buried the lead pretty quickly on that, but I wanted to talk about this moment. So obviously, now that I think about it, one of the best pickups I think SmackDown have got is the Street Profits, who are no doubt, they are insanely charismatic. And I'm hoping at Survivor Series we'll get that dream matchup of the Street Profits versus the New Day, because that just seems like money. You could make so much money. It's a license to print money, that rivalry. I love Montez Ford. I think he's incredible. I still believe that he could potentially be the next mega star of wrestling. I really believe that. I think he's got all the tools in his locker to be one of the all-time greats, if he's used and booked correctly. That being said, on Raw, to obviously get around the fact that they had traded tag team titles, Adam Pearce, who seems to be the ultimate administrator now of wrestling, he seems to be very busy, that guy, he had come up with a genius way. Now, I had suggested to you, hadn't I, before the night had started, that obviously when Street Profits got traded, that they could do like a 2 out of 3 falls match at Survivor Series. Think how good that would be. And each fall is for one of the tag team titles, and they could end up swapping. It would just be very cool. Like, sort of have like a bit like when I say 2 out of 3 falls, I mean kind of like a 2-fall match, a bit like the famous triple threat between Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, and Chris Benoit, I want to say, for the European and IC titles. And the first fall was for one of them, and the second fall was for the other. And they could have done that with the tag titles. They went down a much easier route, which I'm sure most people aren't that bothered about, but I was curious what you thought about this. So what they literally did was swap belts. Quite literally stood there and went, yeah, do you know what? Go on in, we'll have those, and you have these. Very much a pawn shop compromise when it comes to tag team titles. Now, this whole argument I want to make is all about tag team wrestling. WWE clearly doesn't give a shit. about tag team wrestling. They made that very clear. They are burying tag team wrestling hard. And I mean really fucking hard. So, what's your overall take on the way they're treating tag team wrestling, but also the weird segment? Are you okay with them swapping belts? Because for me, it feels disrespectful and it cheapens the belts even more than they already need to be.
Honestly, it's what I expected. I went in to tonight just because I know the New Day got drafted on Friday. I knew the Street Profits were going to get drafted tonight. And I just came in going, yeah, they're probably just going to do a bit of tradesies, which I think devalues both championships. It just means they're essentially just props. Championships are supposed to mean something. When you're in wrestling, you are supposed to always want to go for, the world championship, or if you're a tag team wrestler, the epitome is the tag team championships. That's just how the industry works. And you're just like, no, I'll take these red ones because I'm here now. You take these blue ones. It are first things first for me. Are these reigns now totally new reigns because the belt swaps? Like, so does the New Day just have like a 3-day SmackDown Tag Team Championship reign, and now they start tonight with a one on Raw? And like, there's just so many questions to this. It doesn't make any sense. Just, you should have had the red on blue for a while, the blue on red. The Survivor Series is in a month. Just do that. Just do that. It would have been fine. But no, they just had to literally just trade the props, have Rude and Ziggler in for a few seconds because reasons, and then that's it. I don't understand it. Tag team wrestling, I love tag team wrestling. I still remember, Edge and Christian, the Hardys, the Dudleys, even like Los Guerreros, the world's greatest tag team. Like, these were great times, and now Vince has just taken a giant shit on it, and he just left it there. He's left it there steaming for the last 10 years.
It's highly frustrating. Tag team wrestling is so important. It is a cornerstone of the entertainment and the overall product of what has been professional wrestling since the beginning of time. You think about how special tag team wrestling is. What's really funny, right, is on the flip side of things, AEW are talking about, we care about tag team wrestling, and ironically enough, they've done a very different way of burying it by always presenting it, but presenting it so terribly. And then on the flip side of things, WWE have kind of just said, yeah, fuck tag team wrestling, we're not even going to bother. They split up Heavy Machinery. This is very disappointing. Otis is left alone on SmackDown. It's almost like they're deliberately trying to bury him because they put the money in the bank on him. Ever since, they've had no clue what to do with him. Tucker wasn't around for a little bit, so they've put Tucker on Raw now. Otis is on SmackDown. They've taken Mandy Rose away. She's on Raw. Otis is still on SmackDown. Miz and Morrison, they've moved to Raw, and their recent rivalry / gimmick is that they were trying to steal the Money in the Bank from Otis by, they've put this trial on. It's really fucking terrible. It makes everybody look shit. And then on top of it, Otis is left alone on SmackDown. Like, what's he supposed to do by himself? You've taken away his long-term tag partner, who has great chemistry with him on screen. You've taken away his on-screen kayfabe girlfriend, who, again, they have amazing chemistry. Like, I don't get it. This seems like a very, very obvious tactic to bury him, because then they can say when he's on his own, oh well, he couldn't cope on his own or whatever. Oh yeah, it's easier to make an excuse for him being rubbish if he's on his own. I think that's unfortunate, and I hope he can rise above that. I really do, and I hope he can continue. But Heavy Machinery have broken up. Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode are not a legitimate tag team. A couple of fucking scrubs that nobody cares about, frankly. As far as I don't give a shit about either of those guys. They are fucking boring. They're just charisma vacuums at this point. Rubbish, boring, boring Bobby Roode, which is a shame because I loved him in TNA Beast. It's not working. For fuck's sake, sign James Storm and bring back Beer Money. For the love of Christ. Like, I heard that apparently James Storm was lining up, possibly signing with WWE again recently, and then they had to, postpone it because of what had happened with COVID and that. And my God, he needs it badly. He really does. He needs James Storm injecting himself in him very quickly. And, there's problems all over the place. Because if you take away the champions, the New Day and the Street Profits, what are you left with? Not a great deal. Obviously, one of the Usos is injured long term. One of the Viking Raiders is injured long term. That doesn't help. So what you're left with is a load of quasi-crappy tag teams that you can't really take seriously. And then you've got people sitting there waiting for their tag teams to kind of resume. Even Miz and Morrison don't feel like a tag team. They feel like a comedy duo as opposed to a tag team, Like, I'm not expecting them to put up a serious challenge. But I'm looking at the Raw roster and I'm thinking, well, it's got to be New Day, isn't it? It's got to be New Day versus these two guys. Like, it just feels that there's nobody else there. So it's got to be Miz and Morrison challenging for those tag team titles, surely. And that doesn't have that much longevity to me. Same with the women's thing. They've kind of created these new tag teams. There's problems. There's way too many holes in this. There's way too many errors. And obviously, I have to be patient. I have to give WWE the benefit of the doubt, as you always do, to a certain extent, depending on what the scenario is. But I feel like you say, they clearly have taken a big steaming dump on tag team wrestling. And to cap it off, seeing them swap the belts, I get why they did it. It's a lot easier than going through some convoluted storyline, building up the Survivor Series or whatever, which is a shame because if it's done right, it could certainly draw quite a few viewers, I think. But at the same time, how demeaning. And like you say, these questions. So, okay, wait a minute, who's like, you're looking at it thinking, wait, so does that reign count? Or does this reign count instead of that? Do they replace it? Or is the record books going to show that they were SmackDown Tag Team Champions for 2 days? And then the belts are defunct? Is there an asterisk? That if it's making my head explode, then it's not fun. It's like I just want to enjoy it. Make it easy for me to enjoy it. You can't do that by doing this kind of stuff. Too many swings and roundabouts and things like that, and you're coming back to the same old issues. So that's great. Okay, you swap the belts. Now what? There's no contenders for them. You should have stacked one of the shows with quite a heavy presence of tag teams. Probably Raw, because it's 3 hours long. Why couldn't you have a stronger tag team foundation on Raw? You're telling me that heavy machinery wouldn't be useful over there? Of course they would have. Would have been fantastic for it. So, plus Otis, let's be honest, he ain't going to cash in and beat Roman Reigns, is he?